I got involved with a group of men who were going out and serving chili dinner to the homeless encampment. And in time, the main guy who spearheaded this and we made the chili at his house, he moved back to Switzerland. And he says to me, "You're going to have to make the chili at your house." To which I said, "I don't have time for that." That's when we got teamed up with the rescue mission. That was my first intro to the rescue mission. He just kind of cut through all the red tape and said, "We would love to support this endeavor." It just became a passion of mine because I got to see the life change that would happen. So to be able to hand people a bowl of chili and use that as a precursor to a conversation rather than just a handout, right? Call it a hand up, not a handout.
I am John Patterson, and welcome to the Driven Leadership Podcast, where I get the honor of talking to so many wonderful driven leaders, both inside our automotive organization and outside of the organization. And today I am so lucky to be joined by someone I consider a very good friend and a mentor to me, in that he is running a not-for-profit that changes lives on a daily basis. I'd like to welcome Brian Crane, the president of the Orange County Rescue Mission. Brian, welcome.
Hey, John, thanks for having me today. It's cool to come here, see your studio. This is awesome.
Well, it's great to have you here. And for those that don't know about the rescue mission, we'll get into that for a while. But in the beginning, talk to me about a guy. Talk to me about your family. Tell everybody who you are, your beautiful wife, your kids. I think that's most important so that people get to know who they're going to be hearing from.
My name is Brian. I've been married to my wife, Natasha. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, it feels like yesterday. It really does. You know how fast things go. And then we have 16-year-old boy-girl twins who are sophomores in high school, and a 14-year-old daughter who's in 8th grade.
Excellent.
They're 20 months apart, so we have 3 kids that are 20 months apart.
Wow. They talk about Irish triplets. You're kind of in that range there with 3 kids all in and around the same age.
Yeah. So when they were little, it actually, people say, with twins, how do you make that happen? And I always say, it's really not that much. You have the whole apparatus is in place already. You have to feed them at a certain time. They have to take a nap at a certain time. So in many ways, we just kind of blew that all out. And now as they're getting ready to go to college, we'll face 3 kids in college. And
both exciting and a little bit crazy daunting at the same time. Yeah, yes. Daunting at the same time.
Yes.
Well, I think it's important for all of our listeners and viewers to get a good feel for someone's background as to how they got where they are. So the rescue mission is an amazing place, but when you got out of college, that wasn't the first on your to-do list, right? You were involved in so many other things prior to getting involved in the rescue mission. And I think it's important for those people that might be listening to this that think, well, I'm in one space. How do I connect to the other space? So talk to us about what you were doing before you joined the mission.
Okay. Yeah. In many ways, the rescue mission is a completely second career to me. And so when I was in college, I went to USC as a business major. And a friend and I, we started a company. We started a business in college that was providing material to radio morning shows. So if you subscribe to our service, and you were a morning show host, we would give you enough content to every day be the funniest guy in the room, the most informed guy in the room, sound like you're the most intelligent with very little preparation on your part because we're doing it all for you. And we ran that business for 19 years.
Wow.
In fact, hearing you talk about it at the beginning, I was thinking that there was a moment for me in college when I had an offer to go work for Deloitte & Touche. I was going to go be a consultant.
Yeah.
And but we had started this business and it was doing pretty well. And it was just I sat down with my dad and I said, "What do you think? Should I pursue this or go into consulting?" And he said, if it doesn't work, you can always go back, get an MBA, restart, but you don't get a lot of opportunities to start a business. And I really appreciate that advice because the safe thing to do is go be a consultant, right? And that was sort of it's laid out for you what the steps are. We operated that business and that business still exists today because we sold it 10 years ago. And our crew that was there at the time, almost most of them still work for the company that acquired. Wow. So that's pretty cool. I feel really good about that. But to get into the rescue mission, so about maybe 7 years prior to selling the business, I got involved with a group of men who were going out and serving chili dinner to the homeless encampment in Santa Ana, which is sort of Orange County's equivalent of about as rough as it gets.
Right.
And every Thursday night we would go down and serve dinner. And in time, that grew into quite an endeavor. We had all kinds of volunteers, and it was totally homespun. It was some guys that had met at church, but even that, it wasn't a church-sponsored ministry. It was just us doing it. And in time, the main guy who kind of spearheaded this, and we made the chili at his house, so his was important. He moved back to Switzerland, and he says to me, Brian, you're going to have to make the chili at your house. To which I said, nah, I don't have time for that, because I was running my own business and all that. And to make a long story short, that's when we got teamed up with the rescue mission. That was my first intro to the rescue mission. And I didn't even know what the rescue mission was.
Right.
And at the time, our very first meeting was with the then president, my predecessor, Jim.
Yeah.
And he says, oh yeah, we'll make the chili for you. Here's a vehicle you can use. He just kind of cut through all the red tape and said, we would love to support this endeavor. I thought, wow, this is an interesting guy. He makes stuff happen. I like this guy. And in time, it just became a passion of mine, because I got to see the life change that would happen. I'll even backtrack a little bit. Before we got with the rescue mission, it was like, here's a bowl of chili. It was a nice thing to do, but kind of felt like we weren't really helping people in a major sense. Getting teamed up with the rescue mission, now we had an avenue to really help people. And that kind of gets into what the rescue mission does. The rescue mission provides an 18 to 24 month program to people who are either homeless or near homeless, oftentimes dealing with drug or alcohol addiction, mental illness issue, domestic violence, something that's getting them to the point where they're on the streets or living in their car, and gets them back to being self-sufficient again. So to be able to hand people a bowl of chili and use that as a precursor to a conversation rather than just a handout,
right?
Call it a hand up, not a handout. Now there was purpose and meaning in that. And I just loved it. I love being able to shepherd people and get them into the rescue mission. And in time, when we sold the business, my passion was for that. I would look forward to that on a Thursday night, more so, I hate to say it, than the day-to-day of what we were doing. And so there was an opportunity that came about to go work at the rescue mission. So that was 10 years ago.
Wow.
And I went to work there as the chief operating officer in 2015. So 9 years ago, almost 10. And then I was promoted to CEO last year.
That is, that's an amazing, transition. And, it's funny, we were talking to Charles Antis from Antis Roofing not too long ago, and he's a storyteller. And I always think that the best image for people to see career change, to see life change, happens in the story. And your story is so on point, right? Starting with serving a little chili with some of the guys that you know.
Yeah.
And it turns into relationship building, which turns into, holy smokes, I'm going to, once my business is out of the way, I'm going to be part of the rescue mission and be not knee deep, but neck deep, all in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So walk us through. So those people that don't know about the rescue mission, educate us a little bit. So you talked a little bit about the people that are there and how they get there, but walk us through what happens when people are there.
Yeah. So we operate 8 campuses throughout Orange County, and they range in the sort of scope of who they're servicing. Like we have one specifically for military veterans. We have a ranch property that right now is just for men. Our flagship campus is in Tustin, about 5 minutes from here.
Yep.
It's called the Village of Hope, and we can house 262 formerly homeless men, women, and kids there. And the people that go into that program are, on day one, they have a volunteer job assignment. And so when they come in, they're assigned to the kitchen or the grounds crew, the warehouse. And the idea is to get in the habit of coming into a daily responsibility, just kind of that rhythm of being accountable and doing things. And that's kind of the step one. A lot of people, believe it or not, they come in from having been on the streets. there's fear, there's anxiety. If you think about what it must be like to actually live on the streets,
Yep.
you have to live with one eye open so that there's a chance you're going to get robbed at
Yeah.
so a lot of times it takes people 30 days just to come down from that heightened level of anxiety and
Stress.
attention. Yeah. So they kind of gradually work into the rhythm of the place. But in time, we want to help them with all the challenges that have led to them being in the situation that they are. For many, it's drug and alcohol.
Right.
And so a lot of people, we provide sobriety coaching. We do what's called Celebrate Recovery, which is, for lack of a better term, this is a sort of crude analogy, but it's a Christian version of AA.
Yep.
And so there's a sobriety coaching. We have a legal clinic on hand. People need to help with civil and criminal issues, depending on what it is. And then we do vocational training. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Is if people are coming from a background where maybe they dabbled in medical billing before things went south,
Yeah.
we're going to help them get that certification back. At our ranch program, we do a construction training program where they get to dabble in learn how to hang drywall, do a little electrical, do all with the intent of giving them enough skills to be useful
Right.
on a job site if that's something they wanted to pursue. They don't have to, but we want to equip people to have options when they come out. So the vocational training and the adult education is a pretty important component. One other thing I'll say is, if you come into the program and you don't have a high school diploma, you're going to get it by the time you're out. And for some, that's a long road.
Yeah, for sure.
Some people, we've had guys that are in their 60s who dropped out of high school when they were 15, get their high school diploma.
Oh, that is
And you know how awesome that is?
Oh, beyond.
The amount of confidence that someone has when they do something that they spent their entire adult life thinking that they couldn't accomplish is enough to make you want to go to work every day. And it happens all the time. So that's in a nutshell what we do. With the goal is, at the end of your time there, we want you to be full-time employed, hopefully in a job where you're being paid the highest wage you've ever had, that you're able to afford your own place in some shape or form, and that you have enough money saved up for an auto incident or a health incident, whatever it is, so that the first storm that comes your way doesn't derail everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So the whole hand up, not a hand out.
Yep.
And I think that's a piece that so many people don't understand. And those that have never been to the rescue mission, I think, are typically blown away when they go to the Village of Hope, because it is anything other than what most people imagine a rescue mission to look like. Wouldn't you agree?
People think that when they think of homeless anything, they think it's some soup kitchen with that smells. And but one of my predecessor, Jim, he had this vision of beauty in everything that you do. Beauty instills a sense of dignity in the people that we serve. So the campus is beautiful. There's fine art in the campus. There's in the chapel, there's stained glass windows that were created just for the chapel. And we've had women walk in and just start crying and say, "This is for me." And when you can instill that level of dignity to people, almost instantly they glob onto that and want that for their own family, and they're motivated to then want to succeed. So having a beautiful campus that is well maintained is by design. It's not sort of a side effect of the whole thing. That's by design, because we think that helps people move along faster than through their program.
I'm sure of it, because I remember the first time I stepped foot on campus. Obviously, I've been there. Gosh, I can't even begin to count. But the first time most people walk on that campus, you can see their faces and the expectation of what they had and what they're seeing are not one and the same.
Right. Yeah.
So talk to us about core values of the mission. Do you have, there's some core values or some key items just for the staff and for the students?
Yeah. Well, we are a Christian ministry, and we are very bold about that. We believe that true life change happens when people are in a relationship with Jesus Christ, and we instill that from day one. And from a purely pragmatic point of view, you can see the fruit the proof is in the pudding, because when people have hope, when they have a sense that they're part of a story that's bigger than them,
Yeah.
they're inspired to want to achieve. And from a theological perspective, there's a lot of guilt and shame that comes with being on the streets, especially if you have kids.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guilt. Did I bring my kids in this situation because of things I've done? And the Christian faith addresses all of that. And so, that's probably a whole other podcast,
Right.
But sure. I would say that that it's distinctive of the rescue mission in terms of homeless services, because there aren't the approach elsewhere is give everybody a house and that'll solve it. And our belief is that, well, number one, most of the issues that lead to homelessness homelessness is downstream from drug and alcohol addiction, domestic violence, human trafficking, broken families.
Yep.
And Christianity has an answer for all of that. And so it's not just a matter of giving someone a place to live. It's giving them the tools to be self-sufficient, the hope that can be found in Christ.
I love that. Learning experiences. Have you had a couple of stories in your time that you've been at the rescue mission that have just blown you away? I'm sure you see it on the daily, but for those that can't have an appreciation or don't have an appreciation or haven't been exposed to it, the start to finish of a handful of people, I think that would be helpful to be able to share.
Yeah. Well, when people bring up learning experiences in the context of the rescue mission, I can't help but think about COVID and just every industry had a COVID story.
Right.
I know you did.
Oh boy, did we.
And even in my prior career, one thing that I think that people have to learn early, especially in leadership, is fear will just kill you, right? You can't. Franklin Roosevelt was right. We have nothing to fear but fear itself.
Right.
We do have things to fear, but fear will just kill you. And during COVID, we saw fear in every sphere of life.
Yes, we did.
And in homeless services, what we were doing, they were literally, other than us, they were telling people they couldn't come into the shelters. It was crazy. And then we saw the schools shut down.
Yeah.
And seeing the school shut down, do you know how hard the people that made the decisions to shut down the schools were not in the same position as people that have to go to work every day.
Right.
And so I say all that because in terms of challenges that really kind of opened my eyes is that you got to plow ahead and you have to trust your faith, your instinct, and your gut.
Yeah.
And when the world's going sideways, and that can be on a macro level like COVID, that can be just in your industry, you have to have the fortitude to just say, no, we're going to do what we're going to do. Because in our case, we stayed open. We never turned one person away. The staff kept coming in every day. That was controversial. Most places are like, everybody's going to work from home. Well, you can't work from home when you have a campus full of people that need to be fed, that need services.
Yeah.
And so we persevered. And in the end, I think it even though it was a touch and go at the beginning, I think our staff, they were heroes. They were, there are a lot of other industries where they were heroes too, but our staff were heroes and they knew it. And there was a pride and a dignity that came with it, that had we cowered like a lot and just said, well, we're just going to shut down for the next 6 months and ride this one out, it would have been devastating. But instead, everybody grew from the experience.
Massive bonding experience from going through the trials of a COVID, of a national pandemic. And I love hearing that because our business, same way, right? We have cars coming in. Customers' cars are breaking down on the daily basis. We have customers that need cars because their cars are no longer working. And if we're not here to assist in that process, they're not getting a car, and our staff, it's awfully difficult to do our business remotely.
Right.
Yeah, that talk to me about you and mentorship, because I'm always interested in hearing about leaders of organizations and what inspires them and what mentors inspire them.
Yeah. Well, personally, I've had two mentors, and that I would just rattle off real quickly. First was my partner at our prior company. His name's Johnny Vega, and he was my business partner, but he's also older than me when we started it. And so, and then my other mentor would be Jim Palmer, who was my predecessor at the Rescue Mission. Also, both men are about 10 years older than me,
Gotcha.
and and yet, even though we were scrappy entrepreneur in a private sector, and then Jim, we were a more established and a nonprofit, two very different.
For sure.
But yet, two things that those guys have in common is this notion that if you're going to do anything, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing it with excellence. And I think both guys really sort of inspired me in different ways that if you're going to do something, do it well, do it with beauty, do it with dignity, spend a little extra money if it gets you in front of customers, you know. And then the other thing is cut out all the unnecessary steps.
Yes.
Keep it simple. Even that story I told at the beginning of when we brought the chili ministry, it was like, yeah, we'll just cook the chili right here. Here's a vehicle. We had been to several places asking, could we use your kitchen? Even churches, could we use your kitchen? Well, you know, on Tuesday nights it's used by this, you know, a bunch of reasons, and just a sort of like, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. If you can see it, let's make it happen. And so I think that was both inspiring and just sort of like setting the tone for my career to have two guys that were very similar in that way.
That's fantastic. So, Brian, one of the things that I always like to make sure that people get a takeaway from any one of our Driven Leaders podcasts is tangibles. So you interact with leaders on the daily, and you're a leader of an amazing organization yourself. Any advice that you would give to leaders that are looking to get involved or are looking to do more with the resources they have?
Yeah, well, in terms of the rescue mission or in terms of just in general?
I guess both the rescue mission one,
Yeah.
and then, you know, maybe a couple people that you've seen that have been on the outside that have been helping out the rescue mission.
Well, one thing we've been doing at the rescue mission the last year or so, we provide a group experience for companies to come and spend a morning together we've had all kinds of companies come in from big software companies, property management, insurance. And what we do now is when they come in the morning, we show them a video of what the rescue mission is and what happens on this campus. We maybe have a student come and talk to them. They'll literally spend the first half hour, 45 minutes getting context before they go out and do a project on campus. And a few things that I think happens when you bring your team out. This is almost a shameless plug now, but you asked to have people come to the rescue mission.
Yep.
Number one, they see a side of the issue of homelessness that maybe they wouldn't have already.
Right.
And in Orange County, it used to be you could operate in your bubble and not see homelessness.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in the last few years, it's everywhere now. And people have formed opinions about it. And what I don't think everybody realizes is there's a lot of people that are on the streets or near on the streets that really, truly don't want to be there. The sort of knock is, well, they want to be there. Well, there's probably always going to be a few that want to be there.
Right.
But there are a lot of people that don't. And when they come to the rescue mission, they get a perspective and a context on that. And here are people that are trying to change their lives. So, and I think that empowers people because now they're doing something about it, even if it's one serve day, but that could lead to more serve days or more involvement. And then it's funny, just the camaraderie of seeing people work together on a project where, maybe the sales and the parts department normally don't interact, but today they're helping to prepare a meal in the kitchen or whatever. It's pretty cool. And so I would encourage anybody, if you're interested, another shameless plug, go to rescuemission.org. Hit the first option is to provide help, and then go to volunteer and show up and make a day of it. We'll treat you right. It'll be a good experience.
Well, and don't feel the least bit guilty about having a shameless plug, because that's what I've got you here for as well, which is the shameless plug for Miracle at the Mission.
Yeah.
And it's something that we've been involved in for a long time, and we dedicate resources and time and gifts, but it's truly amazing. And I remember the first time I went to the Miracle at the Mission, I was videotaping it because, our folks wanted some content, and gosh, this must be 8-10 years ago. And I found myself just tearing up looking at all the students and the volunteers working in tandem, and the event just being amazing and just pouring love over all the students. And why don't you educate a little bit of the listeners as to what goes on, what's the purpose behind Miracle at the Mission, and what they can expect if they come and volunteer or support it in some other way.
So Miracle at the Mission is a great day. This year it's Saturday, December 14th. And John has been a huge part of this for many years. And what he does is raises a ton of toys and gifts for both the kids in the program and then the adults. So let me address both of those. So what happens is we bring all these toys in, and then the parents of the people in our program get to go shopping. So they're there without really a lot of resources. And if you think about it, there's a lack of dignity if you can't provide your kid with something on Christmas. Let's just be real about that. It's kind of sad if you can't get them something. And so they get to go shopping, and then they wrap the presents so that on Christmas morning they can give their kids presents. So there's one side of the house. And then in a whole other section, the kids are shopping for their parents. So we collect things like gift cards and wallets and perfumes and hats and the sort of thing that a kid would want to give his mom or dad.
Yeah.
And so that the kids have the fun of picking something out for and this sounds simple, and it's the sort of thing that a lot of people take for granted, but think about the situation people are in. Mm-hmm. It's pretty amazing. So John collects thousands of gifts and toys to make that happen. And what happens on Saturday, the 14th, is all of that gets trucked over from here, from the dealership to the Village of Hope. And then it gets all sorted, and the kids get to do the shopping, and we have a big program. We bring in, I forget, 5 tons of snow, and the kids go sledding in the courtyard. A lot of people never seen snow before. Santa and Mrs. Claus are there. It's just a big Christmas party, but with the dignity of the kids getting to pick out gifts to give to their.
So if someone that doesn't work for my company or is one of my customers that we share this information on all the time is interested in becoming more involved, not just with the mission, but at this day, what do they do?
Yeah, same thing. Go to rescuemission.org, provide help, hit volunteer, and then you'll get linked to all the different activities and events coming up. And if you have toys and gifts suitable for kids up to 14 years old, please bring them here to Patterson Auto, or you can bring them to the Village of Hope as well.
Perfect. Well, Brian, I am so honored to not just know you as a person, but call you a friend, and just to watch what Jim started and what you are taking and moving and inspiring all of us that are associated with you, and inspiring the students that are under your watch. And I just want to thank you. I want to thank you as a friend, and I want to affirm you and all your staff as just amazing team members that are changing lives and making our community such a better place. And thank you for being you. And thank you for joining us for Driven Leaders today.
Well, thank you for having me. And thank you for what you do, too. There are very few business leaders who are as active in helping. And I know it's not just us. I know you do a lot for other entities, too. And, it's inspiring that someone who has as much on their plate as you do makes time for the things that you support. So thank you for what you do, too.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Thanks for listening. And until the next time, welcome to Driven Leaders Podcast. And we look forward to sharing this episode with you in the near future. Make it a great day. Thanks for joining us for the Driven Leader Podcast. And thanks to Brian Crane, the president of the Orange County Rescue Mission, for sharing with us, sharing the story of the transition from an ad executive to a nonprofit, sharing the story of the change that happens and the dignity that is provided through the Orange County Rescue Mission, and sharing with each of you listeners how you can get involved, one person, one step at a time, to really change the lives of others. And hopefully you want to participate in the Miracle at the Mission as well. Thanks for listening to the Driven Leader Podcast. And don't forget to like, share, or subscribe so that we can share it with others and make an impact and create more driven leaders throughout our community. Make it a great day.